Okay, it looks like we are live here. And today we are going to be going over, we're basically just going to be finishing up this piece that we started earlier this week. I spent quite a bit of time with this one doing working on I can show it here, on the underpainting and the sketch. And just trying to sort of flesh out my composition a little bit and get a better idea for how I wanted to set this thing up. Unlike what I usually do with these streams, which is kind of just sort of diving in with some painting and letting it kind of form itself. So yeah, with this one I'm going a bit more in depth, and so for this session, we're gonna dive right in and start giving this whole piece some more definition, some more detail, maybe clarify the concept a bit more, work on the dragon and the character and so forth. So this is definitely the most time-consuming phase of the process, and you can really go as far as you want with this whole thing, but it's it won't necessarily make it a better piece after a certain point. This obviously needs some more clarity and detail, but really I just want to get it to a point where I guess it's clear what's going on here, and it looks nice. It looks a little bit more refined and polished, and not quite as sketchy as it does now. So yeah, I'm just gonna dive in here. I've been able to solve the issue I was having with my tablet last week. Interesting quirk about this one, has a wireless USB port and also a wired USB port, and apparently when they're both plugged in at the same time, so the settings get all whacked. So if you ever have that issue, that could be part of it. But anyway, oh yeah, I sort of stretched this out a little bit, and was kind of doing some nitpicky adjustments with the composition here, but let's just dive right in, and actually let's start with what probably sort of demands the most development at this point, and that's going to be our sort of secondary focal point here, these characters that are helping to create some interest here, and redirect focus back towards this main central area here. And they're just kind of they're sort of undefined right now, so I'm gonna go in and give them a bit more clarity. Just gonna figure out what my best bet for a brush at this point is. There are often so many options. It's sort of hard to pick, and honestly, sometimes it doesn't matter that much. But I want to find something that's going to be helpful for detailing this this area here. And I think this one might be a good bet here. Doesn't have too much texture, but it's sort of helpful for being a bit sketchy, I'm just gonna take a minute to pull this up on my phone here, just so I can see you guys streaming in here, or rolling in into the stream. So yeah, maybe I'll just take a little time to sort of define the silhouette a bit more, because that's gonna be a really important component of this. You know, and I'm just going to kind of switch this mixer brush, give it a little bit less of a mix, and we're just going to use that to kind of shape this a bit. Again, I'm still just painting on one layer. Honestly, it's not too important to me, especially with this piece, to overcomplicate it more than that, I suppose. If you may want to, you know, if you're following along, I know I had at least one or two people last week that were sort of trying to paint this along. It may be helpful for you, just so you don't have to do this kind of back and forth thing that I'm doing, to put this whole thing here on a separate layer. You can select, you know, do a careful selection and pull it out. I think I did that earlier, but I ended up, I've just been sort of, I've been a bit more loose with my style recently, and I don't do quite as much layering things as I used to. In fact, I think most of the time now I tend to keep it all in one layer. And that just kind of simplifies things for me, to be honest. It kind of helps me, and it gives me more accountability, I suppose. So I'm not really, like, I have a lot of color on here already. I mean, truthfully, I might be able to increase things a little bit as they are, and maybe dial it down around some of the edges. I think that's what I'll do. So this will just be pretty intense for a bit, and you know, just bear with me. I can always, like I say, it's easier to dilute that color later than to sort of add it in. So I just pushed that color up a little bit, and yeah, I'm just gonna keep picking from here. Yeah, and you don't have to be quite this intense with your colors either. That's my personal preference. I personally find it helps to generate, you know, a bit more interest overall, but you know, you can't overdo it. So I'm sort of simultaneously painting the background behind this guy and bringing out the details in the form. It's funny, I've actually I forgot I was going to be doing this tonight, and I didn't, but I sort of didn't anticipate that I would be detailing so much today. I'm working on another piece right now, and I'm doing a lot of the same kind of thing, which is interesting. I'm actually going to pull up I've got some references here too that we can use as we go through. Some of them are the same that I pulled up last week, but I've got some nice reptile ones here. That might be useful. Those are rocks. Yeah, let's pull this guy out. For some reason I can't drag him off the menu here. There he is. All right, now let's go back. I'll just keep him here. He's not really getting in my way right now, but let's flip him too. So we're kind of can use him as inspiration here. I'm already seeing, like, maybe it'd be useful to have some reptiles tend to have this kind of like hanging neck skin. It's always pretty fun to render out. And then yeah, you can go in and sort of use some of those details to create some interesting things here. Create a little eye there. Don't have to go too far into it, but just, you know, sort of suggestions for now. All right, let's go back here. You know, my light source, or at least my secondary light source, this sort of blue moonlight, is coming from the upper right. So I want to be thinking about that while I'm creating these forms here. I want them to be lit on that side and shadowed on the other side. And there might even be a little of this, this sort of ambient warm light coming up from underneath as well, very subtly, probably just along the edge. There's going to be a bit of a cast shadow here too from the rest of his body, from the wings here and all. And then the light will appear once again right here. Let's just see if we can simplify this whole area. Oops. Yeah, we can actually stay a little bit more zoomed out since we're just working on general forms right now. We want to make sure they work well together. And I'm picking that bounce light, using that to shape some of the forward areas, like his haunches here, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, like I said before, it's nice to keep some of that texture in here. And I'm sort of going over a lot of it, but, you know, where it's kind of messy. But it's good to keep in there. I'm actually, with these shadows, I'm gonna push this closer to the gray. And that's because I want my, since these shadows are being cast by a cool light, I want the shadows to be warm. And that's just going to help to play up the contrast a little bit. Whereas, you know, it's kind of an interplay. Like I have a warm light source here, and I have a cool light source up here. So where it's mostly cool light hitting an object, I'll push the shadows more towards warm, which in this case is towards the gray. In fact, both cases it's towards the gray, because with this cool blue, the more I push it to the gray, the warmer it looks by comparison. And likewise with the red, the closer I push it to the gray, the cooler it will look by comparison. That's a really, really neat trick that you can use to help create some nice color dynamics and contrast in your painting. Okay. I'm gonna sort of make this form pop out a little better. You know, right now it's not reading super well as a whole, so I just want to clarify these shapes, make sure everything is working together, making sure there's clarity and contrast between the different elements, so it's not quite as hectic. So a lot of time that means just taking a lot of small shapes and just sort of simplifying them into a bigger shape. And then going in and adding details as needed later. So this whole area back here, we can just kind of smooth it out. Another thing I do a lot, it's a useful habit to pick up, is just losing a lot of edges where you don't need them. Just sort of deliberately creating areas of blending and uncertainty that contrast well with areas of focus. That'll help you to create a really nice dynamic between those two styles there. I'm gonna start creating a few highlights here and there around key areas. I'm just going to stretch this wing out even more. Bring it all the way out here. Just make a nice S-curve shape. Just helps to counterbalance the some of the more direct shapes around here. And I want to pick up a little bit of that purple too and work it in here. It's just a really nice touch. So I just color picked a little of that, and we're just going to sort of mix that in here and there. Give the whole form a bit more variety. Right. And another thing here that I'm doing is, doing all this smoothing can really create a nice contrast between areas of texture that I've already established here. And again, I'm probably overdoing it, but I'm just seeing a lot of kind of messy movements I made in the first part of this video, so I'm sort of trying to correct a lot of that too, which is fine. It's great to return to a piece after after a little time has passed, and just it's really easy to notice the things that you missed earlier and try to find ways that you can improve them. Cool. Yeah, this is nice. I like this whole setup here. We can push, and then you have to think about the local color a bit too. If the wing membrane is more red than the rest of the dragon. I'm not sure what this dragon's native color is, because it's sort of a night scene up here, so it's hard to tell. Everything's kind of blue and green and cool colors. But I would guess that the relative color of his wing is going to be more red. So, you know, red in the context of these cool colors is going to be more violet. And then I just like that color dynamic, so I'm going to keep sort of incorporating that in here. I just want to start getting generally a bit more specific about the details I'm making here, how they're all working together. Start creating some clear shapes of form and light and so on. I think I might be overdoing it with a lot of these highlights here. Let's flip it and take a look. Move this dragon out of our way. The real dragon. The OG dragon. Alright, yeah, I mean, I think those highlights are a bit much. I mean, at least that's not where we want our focus to be necessarily, so maybe we can sort of push them even more relative to that around this head here. I think that's where we want, it's really where we want our focus to be. But I think either way, those highlights are just too much. You don't want to use, you know, this character is supposed to be a bit silhouetted, so I don't want to sort of create confusion by creating a lot of highlights around there, but let's put him away for a minute. Actually, I'm just going to, where did he go? I think he just disappeared. Oh, there he is. Alright, yeah, I'm actually just going to put him over on the other window here for my own reference. You can't see, but I can see him. Yeah, I really like this shape here. Everything that's going on here, I think it's a good good design. I'm just gonna smooth some of this out a bit. Borrow some of this blue. I think a lot of this color is getting kind of washed out, so I'm just gonna sort of try to bump it back in as well as I can. Sort of define parts of the forearm there. And then I want this whole oh, Photoshop's freaking out here. I want this whole area to be sort of silhouetted more strongly against the background. So we're just going to take this oops, that's I'll dial that one back in a minute. So I don't want those two to be connected. I don't want them to form a tangent there. I'm just going to sort of articulate what this form is going to be here. And then I'm going to use Alt-click to remove that extra bit there. And maybe a little back here as well. And then I'm going to reverse that selection. I'm going to go in here. Let's just pick up a big textured dry brush, and we're just going to go in here and clear some of this. Create some more contrast around here. And then flip that, and then we can actually can bring in a bit more dark values around here, and that'll just help this whole thing to pop. Yeah, that's much better. I can even bring some of that in here. I think this could all use a bit of darkening, and then I think I want to create the same effect right here. So let's just take that. And then sort of solidify. Well, maybe we want to do it the other way. You know, when you're trying to create contrast, sometimes you have to make a choice about how you want that contrast to play out. I was thinking about making this darker than this, but that wouldn't really make sense because this is being illuminated and this is all in shadow. So I'm just going to push this out more like that, and let's bring some of that purple back in too, because I really liked where that was going. And yeah, I kind of painted over some of my details there. It's not a huge deal. I'm just kind of trying to tackle basic shapes and those kinds of problems first, using some lighter values. I want all my shapes to read well, you know, more than the details themselves. And I'm just going to go back around this, darken up things that can be darkened. This whole thing is going to be casting a shadow right here. So let's just play that up. And let's make that shadow a bit warmer, like I said. And back here as well. Yeah. Yeah, I think all those shapes are just, you know, much more clear now. And notice, like, I'm not I'm picking and choosing where I include my direct light here. You know, if you think about, if the light source was just hitting everything evenly, this wing would be just as illuminated as this one, but I've made a design choice to increase the silhouette and contrast in both those areas. I've darkened this one and lightened this one, and so it kind of creates the impression that maybe there's some kind of shadowed thing getting in the way on that side, or there's a beam of light hitting over here, and that's just, you know, the viewer's mind will fill that gap in for you. You can just make the design choice, and if you make it kind of blend well and make it look good, it'll read well, and it'll kind of fool your audience a bit. Gonna make sure this form is symmetrical here too. I pushed his shoulder way too far back. I wanted that to come all the way up so it's flush with the other one. Nice nice. Maybe we'll include a little of that. Just a bit of that purple over here, because I really like it so much. All right, I'm just gonna pop the AC on here. It's getting a little toasty. So yeah, that purple also adds this nice color dynamic as well. I noticed earlier, this whole piece was looking a bit too much of like a rigid complementary color scheme. It was just kind of blue and orange, and it was pretty, I don't know, kind of bland to me. So that purple really helps to sort of shake things up. So I'm just gonna sort of. Oh, that's not the brush I want. I thought it was, but it is not. Let's try this one here. Just want to create a bit of shadow, a little bit of detail there. Nothing crazy. And I'm just kind of letting that shadow sort of diffuse outward. There's no need to, say too much with this area over here. And I'm just going to reinforce those highlights I set up earlier that I kind of painted over. Just a little bit. Help define that form. And I think actually I've created a little bit too much contrast there, so I'm just gonna sort of smudge some of that out. Maybe it's fine the way it is. Maybe I don't need to be messing with it. In any case, it's definitely not the most important part of this whole painting, so that's something to be conscious of while you're working. Is this really the best use of my time right now? And most of the time when I ask myself that question, it's not. I'm just sort of working away on some little detail that doesn't really matter that much, like I'm doing now. But yeah, let's go back to this area here and think about this character. She's got kind of lost down here. I mean, I've already assumed her gender, I guess. But I think that's what I was imagining from the beginning, is sort of a female character here. But, we can do whatever we want. Oh, hey, Shalandra. Nice to see you here. Yeah, so right now I'm sort of filling out some of these details, clarifying bigger shapes and forms, and I'm starting to focus on this character here and thinking about how I can make this read a little bit better. So let's just go in and just clarify the edge of this this creature here, this dragon. And I'm gonna pop in some more of that orange behind its head. It's just a convenient little device that'll help give it more contrast. Yeah, that looks better. And then, yeah, let's go back to this character. The first thing we want to do is some of these colors are pretty whack over here. You can tell I was just kind of going in willy-nilly. But I do like some of this texture here. I want to keep some of it, but I also want it to look at least partially realistic. So it's, that's always a tough balance to strike, but between like being impressionistic and realistic, that is, I've definitely been leaning more towards the first one recently. Oh, hey there, Taha. Nice to see you here. Good to see you've been following a lot of my stuff here, and nice to see you joining us again. Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about myself here. So I was born and I grew up here in Vermont, in the United States, and I've just been I got really into drawing as a kid. I'm not sure why. My dad was sort of an artist, so that probably was part of it. But I just really loved to draw, so I would draw a lot of, pretty much a lot of stuff like this, just dragons and warriors and fantasy stuff. I read a lot of Lord of the Rings and Redwall and Harry Potter and all these really good fantasy books, and watched a lot of fantasy movies and that kind of thing. So I kind of just became sort of enamored with this this style. So a couple let's see, I went to college. I got a degree in art and philosophy from a small liberal arts college here, and I kind of made the mistake of I mean, my whole perspective was pretty mistaken at the time. I kind of thought, because I was in a very small circle, I wasn't like surrounded by other artists. It was just other people pursuing various liberal arts degrees. So I kind of thought I was really good, and I kind of thought like, oh, I'll just sort of launch out into the world after here, and people will just see my work and they'll want to give me money for it. And and so, and then I kind of had I tried to put things in galleries. I tried to go through that system when I was in college, and for a little bit afterwards, and it just wasn't working for me. There's really not much of a market for this kind of work in my area, and I think in the gallery system generally, it's just not. It's just a totally different style. I mean, I guess I have a lot of respect for people that can do that, but I feel like a lot of the time it has more to do with kind of creating creating interesting. Well, I don't know. I guess I never really totally understood why some things were successful in galleries. I went down to like Chelsea, New York, and checked out some of those places, and I was like, what is this stuff? I didn't quite get it. It didn't really seem like, I don't know, like the kind of stuff I wanted to be doing, so the kind of stuff I wanted to be doing, I began to realize was mostly in, like the concept art industry and that kind of thing. So, for video games and film, and I think, a lot of the stuff people in the Evident group are kind of after right now. And that's, for probably the same reasons. They want to be artists and they love this kind of material, and they've been inspired by a lot of these existing genres and franchises and other artists, and so they want to want a chance to make art that they love and get money for it. And that's like, it seems like the concept art industry is a good avenue for that. And so I started just after I left college that summer. I was living in Providence, and I was trying to get into the art scene down there, which was very like H.P. Lovecraft inspired. But there really wasn't much of a scene down there. And again, I found the same issues with the gallery system. So I started looking up digital artists and concept artists, and trying to figure out their techniques and what they did. I guess I was already sort of aware of the technique, and I kind of resisted going digital for a while, and I just kept trying to work traditionally, but I just didn't have the space for it. And frankly, I was just pretty curious about what all the fuss was about. So I got a tiny little I got a tiny little drawing tablet for my laptop. It was probably like 5 inches, 4 inches by 5 inches, and that wasn't even the drawing space. It was a tiny little thing, and it like cramped my hand up when I used it. But I eventually, kind of worked up to building up that coordination so I could draw on the screen, and like sort of develop that pattern, that relationship. And I just started messing around with it. Just started drawing dragons and fantasy stuff. I started doing art for free for this small, it was like an indie game company startup, and I did a bunch of concepts for them, and they weren't very good, but they loved them, and they were amateurs like me, so they loved the work, and they were really excited about the project they were working on. And I just kept trying to build my skills. I watched a lot of tutorials online. Walid's stuff on YouTube was probably some of the first stuff I picked up on, and I suppose we've got to have a staff here. I think it's Nick that always comes in and tells me I need a staff at the last minute, so I'm going to try to get ahead of him. I started watching Walid's videos. I found other artists online that were doing that kind of stuff, and just started trying to learn from them. And flip this here, take a look. I started trying to reach out, and I started doing the social media thing again, which is always a pain. But I knew I needed to sort of try to get my name out there, because contrary to what I believed, people weren't just showing up at my doorstep and commissioning art from me. So I just kept trying to build my skills, kept trying to put it out in the world. I did a lot of like small commission stuff for friends and family, like pet portraits, and I would take like people's photos of their pets, and I would make some kind of fantasy like rendition of that. Give it armor. I have a friend who has a pug named Gimli, so I took a photo of it, and I sort of like photo bashed / painted on Gimli's armor and helmet from Lord of the Rings, and that one was a big hit. So I did that kind of stuff, and I like did that to make Christmas gifts for family and friends and that kind of thing. So yeah, after that point, I started to get a couple bigger gigs. I started working with this company called Balance of Seven. It's like a speculative fiction publisher, and I started finding some other people online, that would commission me to do book covers and that kind of thing. And just a little bit here and there, not nearly enough to support myself, but enough to keep the wheels turning and to keep things moving. So. So at that point, I just started developing some solid work relationships with a couple different people, and I started talking with Wallet at Evident and started getting more involved there, and eventually became a part of that team. And that's been overall, just being part of that group has been a huge resource to me and a huge help for my own development. I would post a lot of work and get a lot of feedback, and share a lot of what I was doing, and just getting a lot of really great responses. So yeah, and that's that kind of helped me to build some more connections too, and just talking to other artists too, and being part of that community is super key, or has been for me in my development. And eventually, basically what happened was, I was still working a full-time job at a kitchen for, most of this time, and actually went through quite a few different jobs between the time that I graduated and earlier this year, and it was just to keep the bills going and to pay my way through it. But I was making a little bit of money through the art, and I was kind of building this plan to sort of transition into doing full-time artwork at some point this year, and then the pandemic hit, and I lost my job at the kitchen, and I kind of had all the pieces in place. I had a few gigs lined up, and I was doing this work with Evident, and so I just kind of sort of took a leap and decided I was just gonna spend these months growing my art business and trying to make a living off of it full time. Which I have been doing since then, and it's supplemented with the Evidence stuff and some other sort of random design jobs, graphic design and that kind of thing will come up here and there, and it's not all dragons and and fantasy characters, but yeah, so that kind of leads us right to this point, and I've just been building. Thanks. I appreciate you asking, and I'm glad that's motivating for you. It's I don't know. It was definitely it was not a smart move by any means, and it still remains to be seen really whether or not it's a smart move. But for now, it's not like I really have many other options. It's either this or I try to collect unemployment, and honestly, this is just, it all worked out so well, and I think also part of it was just really what allowed me to do this was a mindset shift, and I think that's really the key is you have to kind of make a commitment to yourself and be like, look, this is what I'm doing, figure out how you're gonna do it, and then just there's a certain point where you have to kind of kind of just leap, and jump right into it. And, it can serve as an incentive to have that fire beneath you all the time. Sometimes it's stressful. I mean, it's stressful a lot of the time, if you don't know where your next paycheck's going to come from, or where your next art gig is going to be. But, at the very least, this is what you want to do, and you're doing it. So, yeah, I mean, just, and part of it now is like, I'm realizing like I have to get my skills up real quick, because this kind of work, I mean, especially now, I would think is pretty competitive. So, I mean, as you know, there are some, amazing, just incredible, mind-blowing artists out there, and there's plenty of work too. It's not to say that you can't get work if you don't get up to that like crazy skill level that you see in artists that are working in big game studios or film studios or that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's you have to make a commitment to be working on this every day and find a way to make that work for your schedule. Even if it's just, like I've said a lot, if it's just like a half hour every day, you just have to be consistent about it, and you have to be really active about the skills you're developing, like figure out what your weaknesses are, keep trying to work on that, figure out what specifically you need to improve on, figure out what it is that that those master artists are doing so well. So yeah, oh hey Nick, to answer your question here, the first book cover gig I got was actually it's kind of a funny story, because at the time I didn't think anything was going to come of this. I back when we were still doing public events, I set up a table at a sci-fi and fantasy expo here in Vermont, and my intent was to try to sell some prints there, and hand out business cards and just kind of advertise myself and just be like, hey, I'm here and I make art, and just trying to form some connections that way, and to be honest, it was a bummer of an experience. I mean, the first day was cool. I met a lot of cool people. There were a lot of other great artists there. Oh, fly just flew in my nose. They were there was a lot of cool stuff there. Some really cool authors and people doing cosplay and just great gathering of people. Lots of nerdy stuff. And I was super into that. So I'd walk around and check out other people's things, but it was 2 days of sitting at a table for 8 hours, and a lot of people came by and grabbed my business card, but nobody was. I sold maybe 10 prints, but I paid $150 to get a table at this event, so I did not even nearly cover that cost. And, by the second day, there weren't a lot of people showing up, and, it's Vermont, so there's really not much of a scene for this. And I was just sort of sitting at this table and kind of just thinking about, I don't know, just feeling sorry for myself, basically. I actually ended up meeting this woman there who stopped by my table and said hi and introduced herself. She was an author there, and she works for this or she writes for this small publisher, and she ended up grabbing my business card, I guess, and getting in touch a little bit later. And I can't remember if it was her who reached out or if she just told the CEO about me, and then she reached out. But I mean, they're both wonderful people, and everyone in that company is just wonderful to work with. So it just ended up being completely worth it. Really, to sit at that table for those 2 days and lose money, so that I can make that connection. Because I mean, to this day, they've provided like a decent amount of my work, and they're just great people to work with, and and just they're they're super enthusiastic about my artwork and really supportive of just about everything I do. So I think it's really just about making those kinds of connections, and that can be a game changer, really, if you can just develop solid relationships with people. And so yeah, I did a couple covers for them, and then and then there's that kind of the cycle. The more commissioned work you do and you produce, the more basically the more qualified you are to continue taking jobs there. So I just kept posting it. Would take those commissions, post them online, just really hustle about it, about the posting on social media. And that can be, as I've said, it can be draining, and like it's a lot, especially at the beginning. It's a lot of just button mashing for no skill points, to use the the RPG analogy. But it definitely takes some time, and that's the other thing. This is gonna be something I'm gonna be working on for my whole life. So here we are, and I'm just trying to now just really enjoying interacting with this community of other artists, and at this point, getting to the point where I can share my skills with other people is really rewarding. And I do love teaching, so I'm definitely thinking about getting into more of that kind of stuff as well, aside from these streams, creating more tutorial content and that kind of stuff, because it helps me learn as well, to be able to talk to other people about this, and to talk with people that are still are kind of where I was 1 or 2 years, or 5 or 6 years ago. But there's really no there's a lot of different ways to pick up gigs. I won't pretend to be an expert on it, really, but definitely like being an enjoyable person to work with, and like developing good relationships with people is probably going to be your number one factor. Especially if you want to get work from someone you've already done a project with. All right, so that's my my tangent. Feel free to ask any other questions as I move along here, but you also probably want some explanation of what I'm doing. And honestly, I'm just kind of getting lost in the details here, just kind of getting in the zone. And a lot of this is I'm not really thinking about much. I already kind of have my overall layout and design set up, so I'm kind of just working out a lot of these details, creating more clarity in these forms here. And that's kind of the fun part, really. All you have to do is just sort of lose yourself in the process. This is the point where if you ever listen to things while you work, or listen to podcasts or whatever, this is usually the point where I would do that. I don't like to do that during the first part of the phase, or first phase of the painting, because I need to focus on making sort of deliberate choices about how the whole thing's going to come together. But once you sort of set up the main pattern and the main design elements and things like that, you can sort of turn on whatever it is and sort of lose yourself in the process. That's where the hours really go by. I spent probably three or 4 hours working on a piece earlier today, just doing stuff like this, and it's super fun. And then, but of course, you always want to check in every now and then. Look at the navigator up here and make sure you're not messing with your design too much. That can happen easily when you're doing details like this and you're just sort of going in mindlessly. You don't want to create anything that's stealing attention away from the focal point, or anything that's too high contrast or too detailed, or like really small shapes near the edge of the canvas up here, like I'm doing as I speak. But as long as you can, like even this might be a bit too high of contrast, so I'm gonna take this brush and sort of just blend everything together a bit. Just use a large soft brush. I'm actually just gonna go in and do a little bit of this here and there, sort of build up some atmosphere, help to blend things together a bit. And I don't even know what's at the bottom of this pit yet. But that's you don't need to know. I'm just giving enough information to get the ball rolling on the story. I don't have to tell every line of it, That's part of developing an interesting piece, is leaving some of it up to the imagination, Not totally spelling it out for everyone. Just giving enough of a taste where they'll want to look at it for a bit longer, figure out what's actually going on here, I'm just kind of creating some perspective lines back here. Again, I think I've just totally ramped up the detail too much back here, so I'm just gonna fade it out with this smooth brush, or this mixer brush. I want to create a bit more variety in this lighting. Yeah, just play up that contrast even more. It's good to know how to work with layers and also how to work without them. I think both are very useful skills to have. And like I said, recently I've just been really attracted to working without them. It feels sort of liberating for me. But maybe that's not a place where you're at. I mean, for most of the past 3 years, I sort of just followed this, sort of more of the conventional concept art approach or digital painting approach, where you at least use 2 or 3 for your midground and your foreground and your background. But yeah, I think, I like this sort of, I've been really enjoying trying to imitate oil paints with the digital medium. It's always pretty fun. Like this stuff here, I just love that. I don't want to. I don't want to touch it. I feel like I can define it a little bit more, but you know, I want to leave a lot of that there. And like this, I mean, this isn't even. It's not even a real shape, but I kind of like it. It's like you don't even really notice it that much, or at least I don't. You know, maybe you do. I mean, yeah, it's probably I probably do want to bring some clarity to that, but you know, having some of these like crazy lost edges and stuff, it's can really help your painting. That was one thing I was really doing with this this piece I was working on earlier. Maybe I can show it to you guys at the end of this video here. You can get a little sneak preview. But I just noticed this thing is kind of leaning a little bit to the right. So I'm just gonna fix that real quick. And when you're working on one layer, you can just select something, copy and paste it with a little bit of a margin around it. And then, you know, you can free transform, just shift a little bit, and sometimes you won't even need to do any blending afterwards. Like, you know, that's the other thing. Like, it's okay to leave some of this stuff in here. I mean, you know, you look at this, you know, it's a digital painting. You know, you see like that kind of stuff. This here, these straight lines. But I kind of like to leave that in sometimes. I don't know. That's just my. I think this is still leaning a little bit. I think the whole thing. Oh man, now I'm just like, it doesn't look so bad this way. I guess I'll leave it. I'll come back to that. In any case, I'm just gonna merge that down. And let's kind of create some. Actually, here's a little digital art trick. Let's try this out. Yeah, let's even loop these in as well. Copy, paste, flip. Whoa. Save me a little time here. And we just want to do this in a way that's not super obvious. So let's, I'm just going to change the, I don't know, let's mess around with it. Warp tool a little bit. Make it kind of match what's going on here. And then probably want to just, well, I'll fade out some of that, you know, this is some distinctive detail, and we don't want to totally duplicate that, so let's just go around the edge and erase that out. But yeah, fun digital shortcuts. We don't have to tell anybody that we did that. We'll just see that bit. And, you know, because it's at a different scale and a different position, it sort of blends in. And, excuse me. I'll probably just go in with this and reduce the contrast a bit too. That'll help it to settle in a bit. Give it more atmosphere. Yeah, I like that. Let's just do a bit more detailing around here. Help it settle into its new home. Video about the brush settings, pressure. Not sure if I totally get what you're asking there. I did a little bit on brush settings. One of the other live streams, I think, or maybe I said I did and I didn't. I'll have to go back and look, but yeah, there are definitely tutorials available for you know, Adobe Photoshop brush settings and that kind of thing out there. You know, it wouldn't hurt to do a little quick YouTube search for that kind of thing. But yeah, I'll see if I can make a video about that too. I think you're A few people have asked about that too. Honestly, I don't mess around with my brush settings that much, so I may not be the most qualified person. I kind of like to, I'll adjust something when I'm trying to achieve something really specific, but for the most part, I'm pretty content just using brushes that other people have made that are far more qualified to be making brushes than me. But there's some effects that brush does make a difference. I mean, I've been raving about these Greg Rutkowski brushes for the past month. They were kind of a game changer for me, and now I'm starting to realize like how where they can and can't settle into my workflow, but just using them really kind of gave me a shift in my thinking and my approach. So even just trying out a new tool like that can be a huge a game changer for your learning and your development. Yeah, apparently I'm still doing some development of my own. My voice keeps cracking. It's been happening a lot. I try not to. I have no idea why. Maybe I just don't talk enough anymore. I'm spend most of the day kind of sitting here working on art, so I don't. I guess I haven't been using my voice as much as I have in the past, pre-COVID. Yeah, I hope you guys are doing okay out there, and staying safe and everything. It's pretty wild time, but I'm glad to be one of the fortunate ones in this whole situation. Somehow everything managed to work out fine, but there's time will tell, and I know a lot of other people are not are struggling. Yeah, I mean, now is probably not a great time to be. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is. I mean, I'm not quite sure. I wonder if this is a good time to. It's definitely a good time to be making art. I don't know if it's a good time to be starting a career in art like I did, but I kind of think that I might be the exception there. But I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. There's only one way to find out, though. You just keep making work, keep reaching out, keep putting yourself out there, and time will tell. I mean, the one thing is for sure. I mean, the more you build up your skills, the more likely it is that you're gonna get some work right now, and it may be a time where you need to build up your skills even more than you would otherwise, but it just means you're gonna have to put in an extra 10-15% to make that cut. But I mean, the video game industry is booming right now, as far as I know. I mean, I don't have anyone on the inside, but I mean, people what do you think people are doing when they're sitting at home and not working? It's they want to play video games, or they want to, read a book, or I think there are a lot of not so much television right now. They can't really make too many shows, but I don't know how big of a client that those industries are for artists in the first place, except for fantasy shows and stuff like The Mandalorian. I think honestly I enjoyed that show. But my favorite part about it was all the art they showed at the end. That was just awesome. It's just such good work. And I often enjoy love looking at the concept art and stuff for films and games more than I like playing or watching them sometimes. So sometimes the artwork can get a little diluted as it passes through the various stages of creation, and there's something just really satisfying about some of those those first concepts where it's just pure art, just pure concept and design, and like it really shines through. Has a lot of expression and that kind of stuff. So that would be such a cool job. And obviously, everyone wants a job at Wizards of the Coast or something like that. I mean, those are some of most of those artists are, at like Renaissance level skill and beyond. I mean, they're you really have to have some chops to work there, at least nowadays, from what I understand. I mean, back in the day, if you look at some of those old Magic cards, they're actually, I've been getting into that a little bit recently, and some of those old artworks are like, like, yeah, I could have made that if I had, hopped on that game in 1994, when I was born, maybe. I was born at the wrong time, I suppose, though. Yeah, I'm just rambling a little bit here, but I think I'm looking at the navigator and I'm flipping this and I'm kind of thinking I've made all this just a bit too complex again, and I do that all the time. And I also am not sure about the rhythm of, I want to draw attention to these shapes here for a minute. I'm gonna have a little teaching moment. Look at what I've done here. Boom, boom, boom. That's a terrible shape. I didn't know I was making it, but it's bad. I mean, look at it up in the navigator too. It's bad because it's too consistent. It's unnatural. It's just three shapes of the same dimensions, essentially. So what I want is something like, okay, let's see, big shape, maybe a little shape, and a medium shape. That's a little better. We can try something like that. Or, big shape, little shape, medium shape, something like that. We just earn like, we don't want that straight line too. We want to, maybe I'll do something like this, kind of bring it back. That'll be a much more interesting shape. Oh, and I've realized I've just been working on this pasted layer here, so I'm just going to merge that down. Yeah, so let's do something here. Go back to my brush. I'm just going to get rid of this one. It's not helping me at all. Yeah. Just checking out your comment, Nick. Yeah, it was a good time to be an artist, man, when I listened to this guy Trent Kanuiga, I think is how you pronounce his last name. He's on YouTube. Check out his stuff. He's he's a big personality, and he has a lot of, he worked for Blizzard, and now he does his own, he basically does like he has a freelance concept art development team, and they're like top of the line. They work for big game studios, and he has a lot of experience in the industry, a lot of great insights and tips. Don't listen to anything I say. Go, because listen to the people that have actually been working in the industry, and he is one of them. What's I getting? Oh yeah, he was talking about his experience working at Blizzard in the first days when it was just like they had this one room studio, and it was just like StarCraft and Warcraft, and you were working for one of those two games. And the standards just weren't as high. I mean, things got competitive really quick over the following the following decades for doing that kind of work. And unfortunately for us, that means we have to work. He had this really great talk. He was talking about like this is a skills based job, like like a doctor or a lawyer or obviously we serve a different role, but it's the same. Like you have to put in the same amount of front end work. You have to put the same amount of time into developing your skills before you can be competitive in this industry. So it's not a wise move, and that is, I think that's mostly specific to the concept art industry. I don't think that necessarily applies to doing like illustration and book covers and that kind of thing. I think there's a lot more flexibility there, from what I know. But yeah, I don't know. I am learning more about this every day, and just trying to figure it out. Trying to pass on whatever I manage to figure out to you guys as well, as much as I can. So, yeah, I don't know. Oh, my computer's freezing up a bit here. Okay. Don't crash. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are following along or trying, or painting along with me here. I know, Taha was, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but please let me know if I'm not. I know he was working on his own version of this painting during the last one, and if you guys are doing that, I'd love to see the results. Feel free to send me a message or post them on Evident. I think pretty much everyone who's watching here is in that group. That'd be really cool to see what you guys are doing with this. If you're trying to replicate it, or if you're inspired by it at all, then I've done my job here. Yeah, a lot of cool details happening here. I like what's happening with this. I like how this perspective just kind of shoots out like that, and maybe I'll try to it really gives the impression that this is all turning away, that this is all very large in scale. So I'm gonna push that a little bit over here, just sort of almost vertical lines going out, just vaguely suggest that this is a flattened plane. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to create like a lot of interest, but I want, like, if someone's eyes wander over here, I want them to be like, oh, that's receding into the distance, obviously. I'm just going to create some more fun light things, maybe a little bit of in the distance here, create a bit of kind of billowy, smoky things happening here. Whoops, I'm kind of overkilling it a bit, but let's dial it back. I'm not sure what I'm doing really, but sort of have everything fade out. Creating those lost edges, again, is just as important as creating your solid shapes. I'm gonna be making a post about that in a little bit, because I've been working on this piece today, and it just sort of clicked in for me. Sometimes something and you're like, oh yeah, of course I know that, but I was able to apply it in my work, and it just kind of all sort of dawned on me how important that is to continuously and deliberately lose some of your edges and create lack of detail, you know, and to constantly sort of constantly play with that interaction between creating detail and losing it. You know, like you've seen me do that a couple times in this, at least a couple times in this video. In fact, I'm noticing a spot where I need to do it now. And it's not like, you know, you really want to be able to recognize it before, you know, before you go in and start making that detail. It'll make your life a lot easier, but you know, you have to start somewhere. And, you know, the best place to start is sort of looking at your picture after you've been, you know, detailing for 1 or 2 hours and being like, hey, I think this is too busy. I have damaged my design with all of this fluff. So at that point, you have to kind of move past yourself and just say, well, I'm just gonna go over all of that. I'm just gonna smooth it all out, because, you know, it can be hard sometimes. You're like, well, I just spent a lot of time on that. I don't want to get rid of it, but it's, you know, the end result is far more important than how you get there. So, you know, it's worth taking a look at your work and as you go, and figuring out if you need to dial back some of that detail, lose some edges, or make some compositional overhauls, or, you know, whatever it is. Oh yeah, I remember I was going to do something kind of like, almost like making some columns over here. I think that would be really cool. Kind of make it seem like almost, you know, well, like natural columns, but still kind of unnatural, you know, so somewhat fantastical, not something you would find while spelunking or whatever that is. I think that's cave diving. And I want to bring some of this, that'll really make this pop. Bring some of that red, which is, it's funny I'm calling it red. I just picked a color from over here in the warm tones, and it's actually, it's like right in the middle of the blue. But compared to this other super deep blue, you know, again, it just looks warmer. It looks red. So I'm just using that in some of my shadows to make them. I'm actually going to darken that a little bit and push it more towards the gray. Oh yeah. Just create some nice contrast. Oh, I love that. Yep, we are cooking here. Just creating more of these nice reddish shadows to help complement my overwhelmingly blue ambient lighting. Okay, so let me just take a look at the comments here. Oh, Nick, man, killing it with the ideas. It's funny you mentioned that. I was actually, I don't know if maybe you even said that last time. I'm not sure. After the last stream, I went in and I did that very thing. I can't remember if it was my idea or not. I guess it doesn't really matter. But Yeah, absolutely. That's been my plan this whole time. I just haven't gotten around to it. I wanted to introduce some sort of greenish light coming out from here, and maybe even like a character silhouetted in a doorway, and that's going to be like our focal point. Uh, you know, so it's it's like our sub focal point, and then down here, I think that's going to be like that's where this face is pointing. That's where they're both looking. There's going to be some kind of exchange uh, between what's going on right here and these guys. So it's really gonna play up the story element quite a bit. Um, so yes, thanks for bringing that up, and you definitely called it. You'll notice I also put a staff in here because I knew you'd come around and ask for one at some point. So it's actually more of a spear than anything, but yeah, we can call it a staff. And so yeah, after I feel satisfied with how all this mid ground area is going, I'm gonna go in there and make and develop that. That'll probably be the last thing I do. Kind of like the cherry on top of the sundae, so to speak, is to develop that last little focal area, and probably also I'll return to this and give it a bit more detail. But I just want to settle up these foreground areas a little bit, give them a bit more definition, so I don't forget or leave them behind. And I already have a lot of nice texture here, so I'm just gonna think about ways I can subtly shape this area without losing too much of that. And I want to keep all these nice colors here too. So I'm just gonna keep picking them as I work. And yeah, it can get kind of complex sometimes with the multiple light sources, but the effect is totally worth it if you can pull it off. And I don't think it's too difficult really. Actually, it's just a matter of bearing in mind where each source is hitting on an object, and where they're gonna meet. Where they meet, they're just gonna have some kind of neutral middle ground. Like this area is sort of a bit uncertain in that regard. Like, where is this plane facing? Is it facing up? Is it facing down towards the valley there? And I'm doing a little of both there. I might want to downplay that red just a bit because it shouldn't be getting up this far, but I just want to create some cool cracking things in the rock. Make that stand out a bit more. Doesn't have to be too specific or too detailed. I just want to push this a bit beyond the general form and texture it was at before. Oops. Actually, maybe I want to have this kind of reflect the pattern I'm seeing around here. This is sort of curving inward, and a lot of these areas are kind of they're very flat and very column-like. So I'm just gonna modify this shape so it fits a bit better with that theme. This is about creating rhythm in your art. Kind of taking a theme and just and repeating it at different scales and different intensities. I'll give your piece some nice rhythm. Maybe bring in some of those red shadows I love so much. Oh yeah. That's super satisfying. And there's a bit too much contrast in this, and we'll just sort of blub this out. It's not important. Not an important area. Nice. Okay. And then one last little disc here. This one we're going to be looking at from very far up, so it'll be kind of pretty rounded. Notice the perspective shift from this shape to one of these shapes here. I'll actually, I'm just gonna draw it out here for you so you can see the difference. That's almost a circle. This one's sort of an egg shape. And some of these are just like these points. And this one is kind of like that. You know, notice the difference in shapes. I'm drawing the same thing from a different perspective. And that's helping to create some nice field of view here. I think this all just needs to be mushed together. Just simplified, you know. Maybe I'll even bring out this lasso tool again. Make some crisp edges in here. And then for the rest, we'll, you know, bring out this nice deep red shadows. They're going to get darker too, right up here. Notice how I pushed it more towards the black. Just keep these shapes super simple. Hey there, Joshua. I'm glad to see you here. If you've been trying to catch the streams for a bit, sometimes it doesn't work for everyone, you know, because we're actually working with a lot of different time zones here. So, you know, I pretty much just pick what works the best for me and for people in this in the U.S., but doesn't work for everyone. Nice. I like this shadow here. I like that you know, that you can tell where the light is coming from just by looking at this, you know. And one more thing I want to do here. Yeah, we still got plenty of time to put in those last details, so. Oh, I love that. I love this, yeah, the night scene effect. I actually don't paint a lot of these, but when you have this cool light source hitting all of these objects, you know, that light's like, it's bouncing around here. You know, you can see there's a bit of reflected light coming up over here, but then you can also play with these these beautiful red shadows, and you know, like I've said, they're not actually red, but they are red relative to the light source. It just creates this beautiful, this great mood. Huh. Yeah, there's just some, I don't know what's really going on over here. Some kind of, maybe I can, again, like try to make this fit in with the theme a bit better. Maybe create more of a hard edge like that. And then you can get rid of this down here and just have it come straight down. It's a bit high contrast for where it is on the canvas, so I'm just gonna, I don't know, it's interesting. It's pretty otherworldly. It doesn't really doesn't really look like, you know, these are some weird rocks, that's for sure. And that's good. You know, it's good that that's readable, at least to me. Alright, I've probably spent too much time working on that corner, and I'm actually just gonna take a big soft brush and whoops, it's not, don't want it on a mixed brush setting, just want a regular soft brush. There we go. Just want to get all this to kind of blend in together. I don't want it stealing too much attention, you know. Just want it to hang out here and be a corner, you know. I'll do some, whoops, that's not quite the value I want. I'll do some of that up here too, just sort of give this a little bit of atmosphere. Maybe that's overkill. I think it is. But it'll just help everything kind of settle in together, you know. Let's flip it, see how it looks. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So let's move on to our final details. I'm going to come back to the structure here. And I'm going to follow Nick's suggestion here. And let's do a little something like this. Take that color, push it towards the green. Let's do some cool light spilling out here. Isn't that kind of cool? Maybe another window right here. Yep. That's pretty cool. Actually, I'm not so sure about that. I think it kind of draws too much attention away from what's happening here. But maybe we can put one, let's try it on this side. Actually, I might be able to just copy, paste, flip. Kind of works. Yeah, but then it's, I don't know, then it's kind of weirdly symmetrical. I want all this focus to be right here. I want there to be a little dude. So, maybe, actually, maybe let's try that, but, let's just take down the opacity. Won't look quite as, won't pop quite as much, you know. Let's see if that works. And yeah, let's start defining some of these architectural features. This is a great. Actually, let's tackle the big shapes first. Awesome opportunity to use the lasso tool to be really precise. That might be right. Let's give it a try. Oh, I'm gonna go on a new layer here. Then invert that selection. And I'm not sure if that's the right shape, to be honest. I think it's a little off center. So let's try that selection again. Let's merge that down. Flip that. Just harden off some of these edges. Sometimes it's hard to get the perspective spot on, but that's not really much better, is it? I think I'm having trouble eyeballing this right. It's kind of an awkward perspective. But let's try this again. Let's first, I think everything is kind of relative to this this structure in the middle here. So let's figure out how that works first. This angle is going to be slightly steeper because that side on the left is facing away from us. Let's just start with this selection. See if this works. Yeah, this can take a lot of trial and error. Just got to keep reinforcing this basic shape here. Let me switch back to this smooth brush. You know, I kind of went in pretty sloppily, you know, when I sort of mapped some of this stuff out, so I may have to just go over that, but, you know, we'll see. Just kind of be very, very clear and articulate about the shapes we're using here. keep narrowing this down, you know, making sure its perspective is right here. That's close. Kind of shave a little bit. I think this would be a lot easier if I had separated it out onto a different layer, but you know, you win some, you lose some, as they say. So that's a bit clearer now, and let's see if we can use that to inform our next move here. Flip it. Let's do a little check. I think maybe what we can do, let's take this whole. It's gonna be difficult when I just set up these windows, but yeah, I can always make new windows. Just shift this over a bit like that. Whoops, I should copy and paste that first so I don't get those torn edges so much. And let's also let's rotate this a bit when we're doing that. Shave off a little bit here so it looks more square. If you are architecturally predisposed or good at math, this is I'm sure you'll have fun with something like this. Actually, I usually this can often be a enjoyable part of the whole thing, but I'm getting pretty worn out for the day. Not that I'm not enjoying this, but definitely trying to wrap this piece up. Change my brush head here. There we go. See if I can do this without leaving dots all over the place. All right. Got our smooth brush back, or our mixer brush. Just gonna play these things up. And let's return to this. Yes, it could be. I like the endless pit idea. Let's run with that. Maybe this might be a bit too small to put a guy down here, but it can at least be like, you know, it can be kind of their target. You know, it's like they're infiltrating this this facility, and something like that. Actually, I'm gonna want this. It's not the right angle. I was thinking about having this roof slanted down, but it wouldn't really make any sense if there's a doorway there. These are things you gotta be thinking about while you work. Is it feasible? Does it make sense? It's not always a huge deal breaker, but even if someone isn't consciously recognizing that it doesn't quite add up, they're probably recognizing it unconsciously, so does not hurt to make sure that everything you're doing makes sense logically, Okay. So this still looks kind of curved. I'm just gonna straighten that edge out. That's much better. Flip it. And let's send out this cast light again. We want that to be sort of in line with our general perspective here. And let's reinforce some of these spires. There it is again, my hitting puberty. Almost makes sense, I think the nerdier the things that I make are, the more I regress. And let's get rid of this one over here. And why not just do a little copy and paste business? Copy paste. Flip horizontal. Shift right arrow. Put her right there. Actually, that should be a bit further away on this side. Still trying to maintain that sort of off-center thing, but it's not really... it hasn't really panned out that way. That's okay. Doesn't have to be exact. Yes. Yeah, the nerdy stuff's fun. A lot of fun. All right. I mean, yeah, I could do a lot more detail with this thing here, but I think it's clear enough for now, Selected area is empty. Of course it is. Let's merge these down. Copy paste. Just gotta straighten this out again. Keeps going off center. And then maybe just blend this out a bit. Smudge it out. Maybe we can have a little flag or something going off the top. Maybe not. What else? Yeah, let's get that smudge tool out again. Let's just mess around with these forms a little bit. Make sure we're on the right layer. Just give these little indications of possible detail. It's pretty easy to do that with the smudge tool like this. Sort of make it look like there's more going on here, even though there isn't. Just create these small little... Smudge tool is great for creating these little details, and I often forget about that. And make sure we fix this little... whatever this is here. And let's just kind of mess with this edge a bit so it doesn't look quite so rigid. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Interesting little world we've created here. Let's get out that smudge tool again here, and can play out some of these details. Give this guy like a beak or something. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, it's definitely good to experiment with different brushes. Like I said earlier, sometimes it can really be a catalyst for a different technique or style, or changing your perspective a bit. But yeah, I don't think. I mean, I guess it's up to you to decide their importance. It's I usually in a given piece I'll use mostly 1 to 3 brushes, and then sparingly 5 or so more just for specific applications. I definitely switch a lot between the mixer brush tool and the regular brush tool and the smudge tool that I'm using here. Those 3, I have them all hotkeyed to A, S, and B, so I can just kind of whip those things out whenever I need. And it's good to be... I mean, those are like your pretty basic tools, I'm not sure why there it is. The cursor disappeared. Yeah, the smudge tool... I used to think the smudge tool was more of a blending thing, and it's really more... you'll get much better blending results with the mixer tool. I mean, depending upon your settings, I suppose. The smudge tool is really... it's just going to pull things. It doesn't really mix so much as it just sort of pulls things around, so it's really good for fine detailing and stuff like this. Get some extra prongs on this spear. Something like that. Yeah, definitely, especially earlier on in the process, or if you're more used to traditional media. I mean, I still get overwhelmed by all the brush choices. It can get in the way sometimes, and yeah, better to keep it simple, really. I'm seeing all these places where I want to get all smudgy. Even like you can, oh, here's a fun way to mess around with this. If you think about there being a lot of heat down here, you can create this kind of heat wave effect. If you get a big brush going, you can go around just sort of distorting things like this. Really make it look like there's a lot of heat happening down here. Especially out in the distance. Oh yeah, it's definitely it's a game changer. It's a very interesting visual effect. Sort of helps me get away with a lot of the perspective inaccuracies that I've made here. Oh yeah, for sure. Just a bottomless pit of lava. Exactly. And that's kind of a cool element too. You know, you create this this threat. You know, what happens if these people fail their mission or whatever. I'm gonna try to mess around with this color a little bit. Maybe give him like a green, or I don't know. Try to introduce another color here. That isn't just blue all around. Let's switch over to the. I rarely use color mode, but there are definitely some good applications. Or we could even just go to the hue slider. Just mess around with this, see what happens. Maybe not. That's kind of crazy. And we'll just push him a little bit towards the purple. Go back to normal, fill out the rest of this hood here. And then sort of just key in some of the light from around. I don't know, that's pretty intense. This character's pretty undeveloped, I would say. But we are kind of running out of time here, so let's just give him a few quick details. Maybe have a hand reaching up here, patting the dragon. Maybe not. It's gonna be a lot to pull off in this short amount of time. I'm actually just gonna lose some of these edges here. We don't need all this detail. Just kind of imply a lot of it, you know. It's just as good. Maybe I'll up the contrast around here. Create some nice highlights. Maybe that's a bit overkill. Let's reserve them for just the spots where the light's really popping off. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've helped this character at all, but let's just, for the heck of it, let's give him some horns. Kind of make it look like he's got a helmet here. That's kind of cool. I think this whole, with that in mind, let's take our burn tool here. I think this whole area could use a bit of a darkening. Might have gone a bit too far with that, but maybe not. I think that really helps us all. Just pop right off. And then let's just do a little smoothing down here. Just so we're consistent, you know, with the rest of the image. Don't want to get rid of all that nice texture, but and then let's just give this guy a sweet little glowing eye. The glowing eyes are awesome. Heck, let's give him 2. And what else can we do for finishing touches here? I'm just gonna sort of re-establish some of the detail I had back here. Flip it, and I'm just gonna, these highlights are a bit intense, kind of makes them look sort of reflective, so I'm just gonna dial those back. I mean, he can be a little reflective, but don't want it to be, don't want him to look like an eggshell or a teapot, I don't know. And there's one more thing I wanted to do. I can't remember what it was. Just do a little bit of reflected light on here. That'll help to define this upper beak thing here. And let's see. There's one more thing. Oh yeah, let's well, first of all, these brush strokes over here are really standing out, so I'm just gonna not with that, with this. Just give those a little kick them out. And then maybe we can quickly do a little linear dodge fun here. Set the layer to linear dodge, and then the brush also. And let's do a large, soft, round brush here. And pick, for our reds, let's pick a big, deep red. And let's just sort of play that in here wherever we can. I'll just create this sort of nice light diffusion effect. I don't want to overdo it, but can look really nice when done tastefully. You can even do it with this this little glower here. Oh yeah, that looks pretty cool. And then with the blue nightlight even too, you can do some of this. Just kind of pull some things out, make them look nice and illuminated. Give them a bit more color. Something about the values of this guy's head that aren't quite working for me, but I'm sure I'll pick up on it when I look at this tomorrow. But yeah, for now I think that's pretty good. Let's just go ahead and merge this down. Well, first check, make sure that what we're doing here is an improvement, and I think it is. I think it looks pretty cool. And oh yeah, Aragon, that's a awesome series. I read that quite a bit when I was a kid, and also just a couple years ago I read through all of them. It was very cool. Let's do a little levels check, see if we're using our full spectrum here. And you know, I think maybe what I'm not totally digging about this, one last thing here. Let's see if this quick selection tool will help us here. Not totally digging the values here. Just look a bit unnatural. So I'm gonna take our burn tool, and that's too dark. Let's target our highlights. Bring those down. That's gonna sap some of our color. Let's try brush tool. Pick this blue, and not on linear dodge. Let's just dial that back a bit. And then just go in and smooth that out. I think that's a bit more workable in terms of our overall values. But we want to have a little of that lighting in there, so just key it in a little bit. And yeah, we're looking good. Okay, so it's been another fun night of painting for you guys and sending out the streams. So thank you all for tuning in here. And I hope you have found this either inspiring or informative or just fun to watch. So yeah, I hope to catch you all. I'll actually be doing another one of these as I usually do on Sundays at the same time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come check that out. I'll be starting another painting from scratch. I think what we're going to focus on doing a study, maybe some kind of character thing or a portrait, you know, deviate a little bit from the fantasy landscape for a while. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, and nice to see you so active here, Shalandra, and I appreciate your questions, and Nick as well. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you all soon. All right, take care.